Hello everyone, I'm Pricilla and welcome to Quantum Witch Cafe, a safe place to discuss anything strange but mostly anything UFOs or UAPs if you're proper. Tonight I will be discussing the ancient Vimanas and how they relate to and display the 5 observables mentioned by Lou Elizondo and talked about often by everybody. These may have only become official in the past recent years, but are as timeless as the Vimanas are, as you will soon see. My question and observation came about when researching ancient propulsion theories. I noticed right away the parallel between the types of Vimanas and the UAP that we are observing today. In the ancient Sanskrit text Maharishi Valmiki Ramayana, which is dated to 500 to 100 BC, a type of craft called a Vimana was described with many different attributes. There's 25 different kinds that are in the specific text that I just mentioned. There's other texts that mention Vimanas, and they have anywhere from 3 to 34, and all display unexplainable phenomena. I'm going mostly with the one I just mentioned because it has the most rapport amongst people, and the other ones were a little bit later, so there's some iffy stuff about them. So you may or may not know what the 5 observables are, or sometimes 6, depending on what interview or article you're referencing. These observables, just for reference for yourself, if you don't know, are low observability or cloaking, sudden acceleration, transmedium travel, antigravity lift, hypersonic velocities with no signatures or biological effects. And for the sake of the video, I'm going to leave the biological effects out because I couldn't really find a lot about that in this specific text. So the first one is low observability, or cloaking. This is best described by the air chariot of Vimana. The text begins by saying the miraculous air chariot of Vimana, which is designed to appear at the wish of its master. Then the text goes on poetically about some really fancy mules and lots of beautiful imagery that's around the Vimana. And what caught my eye the most and kind of made me stop was the wish of the master. Could this be cognitive human interface making an ancient debut? Or the craft operator, whether it be biological AI or extra dimensional, creating an interface between themselves, the craft, and a human? Now, before you call BS, keep in mind that this thought-ran aircraft is not a figment of the imagination. In 2013, researchers for University of Minnesota created a quadricopter that was thought-powered or thought-controlled. And in 2016, somebody at ASU discovered that he could use human thought to control multiple robotic drones. And how this one worked was, in both were non-invasive. They wore a controller with a skull cap. The controller wore a skull cap outfitted with a bunch of electrodes wired to a computer, and then a device recorded the electrical brain activity. Certain thoughts or hand gestures would make certain areas light up, causing the drones to move, and there's other experiments as well that do the same thing. In part of the text, a specific type of Vimana known as the Mantrika Vimana was said to harness and utilize powers of the 8th layer of the atmosphere to attract dark content of solar rays. Could the ancients have known about dark matter and the power that it holds? This dark matter is theorized to account for 85% of the matter in the universe and is currently a topic of research with the U.S. Department of Energy. And as a side note, in 2017, a paper came out saying that dark matter may not actually exist. So if you want to look into that one, YouTube, I just didn't want to not tell you. Another interesting term Tamil Maya found, described in the Darpana Prakarana, translates to illusory darkness. This can be triggered at will, causing an instantaneous cloaking to occur. I'm going to combine the 2 and 3 observables, instant and sudden acceleration, and hypersonic velocities with no signatures. There was no solid descriptions using words like hypersonic. However, the text described traveling to other planets, so it would definitely be considered advanced space travel in this day and age. And then another type of Vimana was mentioned in the text called the Pushpaka Vimana, which is a craft resembling a mountain which could travel anywhere at will. Again, we get this at will. Everywhere at will. Could this have been a hypersonic speed causing it to go everywhere at will? And in the text, the operator of the craft says that it could cover a distance of Lanka to Ayodhya in a day, and that's an aerial distance of 2,110 kilometers. It is also said that they flew with the speed of sound, not exactly faster than the speed of light, but it was an ancient observation, so I'm wondering if that was their equivalent to speed of light for them, since they had not known the speed of light exactly yet. So the fourth kind of observation is transmedium travel. 3 specific Vimanas exhibited the ability to traverse between different mediums. The Jalayan operated through air and water. The Kata operates in ground and water. And then the Tripura Vimana travels air, land, and water. This one is also described as the hybrid of Vimanas, with an electric motor and retractable wheels, just in case it wanted to go off-roading or something. I don't know why it would have wheels if it could fly, but you never know. And the final observable that I'll cover is Antigravity Lift. The Indian Emperor Ashoka started a secret society of the 9 unknown men. These men were great Indian scientists who were supposed to catalog major scientific discoveries, especially ancient ones. Each was said to have written a book, and one was called The Secrets of Gravitation. This book was said to have come from reading the text containing Vimana, because the Vimanas have very detailed ways to build the Vimana if you read them. The book has never actually been seen, and it was said it was hidden in India or Tibet, which for good reason, so nobody got the technology. I kept coming across a very sketchy quote. It was literally copy-pasted everywhere, and it goes, "Only a few years ago, the Chinese discovered some Sanskrit documents in Lhasa, Tibet, and sent them to the University of Chandigarh to be translated. Dr. Ruth Rayna of the university said recently that the documents contain," it always says recently, never gives a date. Dr. Rayna says the documents contain directions for building interstellar spaceships. Exclamation point. However, in the book Aliens and the Multi-Paradox of Reality, the author Peter Meal goes in India in search of this Dr. Ruth. Not only was there not a university by that name, but the universities with similar names in that area never heard of her or these very particular Sanskrit documents. Yet the story is all over Google. All right, back to the Vimanas. According to Drona Parma, a part of the text, there was a Vimana described as a sphere that could move at a great speed generated by a material that sounds like mercury. So they're thinking mercury propulsion. Is this more evidence of what we considered hypersonic velocities at the time? They were also described moving up, down, backwards, and forwards, which is definitely some interesting maneuverability. Another Google rumor being circulated was that Soviet scientists found some old instruments, it always says that, and they reportedly were hemispherical, made of glass or porcelain, ending in a cone shape with a bit of mercury in it, thought to come from Vimana technology. Of course, the possibility of anti-gravity aircraft also caught the attention of Hitler, so he sent many expeditions in search of anti-gravity Vimana technology to get the one up on the world. Back to another Vimana. The Ruka Vimana was this one that was specifically said to be anti-gravitational. However, the text in which it appears was a little bit controversial because it was channeled and it was a little bit newer, so people kind of don't know if they should trust it or not. There was a couple interesting points that came up. The text mentions Vishnu avatars that are beings that are sent to Earth to protect the human race. So some people think ETs are here for that. There's tons of articles and books written about ancient Vimana technology, and the main area of research that people are going towards for Vimana technology is mercury propulsion technology and ion technology. So there is one big discrepancy that I did notice that separate Vimana from today's UAP. Vimanas tend to have a lot of propellers and sails and stuff off the side. And I had to ask, were these actually propellers and wheels, or just kind of an incorrect translation or an attempt to assign some familiar terms to unexplainable and unfamiliar parts on the Vimana that the ancients saw? And of course, we may never know. Thank you so much for listening. You can show me some love by giving me a like on this video or by subscribing to the channel. I really want to know your thoughts, and if you've found anything cool on Vimanas, please let me know.